possible here.
It's so peaceful.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, action.
Okay, so many Chinese people are much more familiar with your work than yourself. So could you please just have a brief introduction to begin with?
Well, my name is Sofia Jannok. I am a singer, artist from Sápmi. Sápmi is a place, it's a country that doesn't exist on the map, but it's it's a Sami territory, the territory in the Nordic countries of my people where we live.
Okay, so we know that it belongs to Sápmi,
Mm-hmm.
but some people say that this is the most mysterious ethnic group in the world, but we don't know much about it. So could you just introduce the Sámi
Mm.
to us?
That's interesting that we're the most mysterious. We call the people of the sun, the children of the sun. And we live in the Arctic of Europe. We're the only indigenous people of Europe. And it's interesting that people don't know about us because we have always been there. But the governments of these Nordic countries, they try to censor our existing because, well, the area where we live is the rich area with lots of resources, lots of forests, mining industry, minerals and water power and things like that. And that means that we are a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that is why people don't know about us, but we are still here. As I sing about, we are still here. Yeah.
Yeah, but your songs, they're much yoik,
Mm-hmm.
what it pronounced.
Yeah.
Yeah, yoik. So it is a traditional music style in Sami, right?
Well, the yoiking, the Sami way of singing called yoik, it is the traditional way of singing among my people, and we only used our voice as an instrument because traditional we are traveling people, like nomadic, and always going from our different places we call home, and that means that we didn't bring any instruments, and the cold also did it impossible to use instruments. So the voice is the sound, and the yoiking is the sound of nature. Actually, it's what you hear in nature. It's dedications to the animals, especially the reindeer, or to different persons that we care a lot about. And I bring in the yoiking within the pop music, so I integrate these techniques of singing, both singing and yoiking, which are completely different techniques, but I still do pop, and then I borrow some of the yoiking.
Yeah, could you just hum a little bit of yoik?
Of yoiking, well, like the water. So that is the sound of the water, yeah.
The flow.
Exactly, in the river, yeah.
What about other features of like forests?
There are, but I have no forest songs. There's wind. So on. So there are different elements. So to anything you care about or anything you want to share with, it's like poetry somehow. Yeah.
So about your hometown we have discussed before. So what kind of place is that? Could you just describe it?
The village where I'm from, it's a completely Sami village. It's a very small one, with around 20 houses. My mom and my dad are living there, and my grandma and grandpa used to live there when they were alive, and then the cousins and the aunts and uncles. And we are there because of the reindeer. We are reindeer herders, so the reindeer are free animals, and their grazing land is in this area. So we have this small village close to where the reindeer are, actually.
Do you like snow?
I love snow, and I have to do because the most dominant season of where I come from is snow. Right now, actually, there is plenty of snow, and it's minus 20 or something. So this is the beginning of the winter. Now we will have snow until May, probably.
Okay. So about your album, Orda.
Orda, yeah.
Orda. Okay, so it
Should we close? No, it's not possible, sorry.
Sorry.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so loud.
Yeah.
这个会不会收进来？ Okay, so it discusses about the colonization in Europe, right? So, how do you see this colonization process in Europe?
Well, I see it very clearly. I'm indigenous, which means we are the first ones in an area before the governments were there. So the colonization basically destroys earth, water, everything we rely on as people, as human beings, and with no asking if it's okay, like no permit from the people who has it as home. So that is basically what colonization is. You take something, you steal something that belongs to someone else, and that someone has been caring for thousands of years, and in 2 seconds it's all destroyed. So and it's all for money and greed, and the local people don't get nothing out of it. It's like I have one song on Orda album called Tjudit, and Tjudit is a people long time ago who came over the Sami land and destroyed villages and burned everything and killed everything and took everything of value and left nothing but ashes behind. And today we still see it with the colonization, with the states who just see something that is so beautiful, see something pure nature, and can't just let it be, because nature is most beautiful and most rich when it's just left alone, and we can live with nature, like be one with nature, because we are part of it. If we destroy the home we are living on, then we destroy our own body and soul. It's like we are integrated, we are the same, but I think the colonizing power has so difficult to see that destroying Earth is also destroying ourselves. So so now we are in time of climate changes all over the world. We have the same problem all over, and that is because colonization has gone too far. And in the Arctic, where I live above the Arctic Circle, and we've heard how Arctic is the first place that is mostly where the climate changes impacts are as biggest in the world. So those 2 degrees, 1.5 or 2 degrees, that the world fear for that it will be warmer by 2 degrees. We already have that, and we already see, like, we have 1 month less winter nowadays than when I was a kid, and this affects animals. And I depend on reindeer. Reindeer starves to death because of these rainy winters. So it's a huge problem, and it's colonization is still going on, although people are trying to say no. We need to find ways to live together with nature, not destroy it.
Yeah. Can you just say some specific examples about the consequences of colonization?
Oh, there are so many. I mean,
Some of it, maybe?
my people, Sami people, we face the same destiny as many people many minorities around the world. They have taken our religion. We had our own religion back in the days. It's all gone. Our own gods we were not allowed to worship our own gods, but were forced to be Christians. And the people who were leaders, so medicine men or women, shamans who were leaders in this religion, they were killed, burned to death. And they used this special sacred drum, and all these drums were collected and burnt, or collected and into museums. It was forbidden to carry these kind of drums, and they are still on these museums. We still cannot have them back. The yoiking, the way of singing that I do, was also forbidden in Sweden until the 1960s. Because it was they thought it was the tongue of the devil, that it was So combined with this old religion, so the priests and the state and the government forbid it. The language was also forbidden to speak for young kids. We had these boarding schools. My mom and dad, both of them went to there. They took the children from the Sami families away from their families to teach them to be Swedish, because Sami people were not to exist. We were to be assimilated into a Swedish culture, into being Swedish, because Sami people should disappear. So religion, language, singing, what else? Of course, land and water, that's the biggest part. It started like 400 years ago. They started to take our lands, and although we were protected by law, they saw the richness in our area. So bit by bit they told us that we were less worthy, and they used race biology, measuring our heads. When 100 years ago they started measuring the heads of the Sami people to decide that these are not really people. We are less worthy, and therefore we cannot have any human rights, and we cannot have any rights to land and water. So that is where the biggest colonization in Sweden, Norway, Finland started, when they told us that we have no rights as human beings. And we are still struggling with that, because nowadays Sweden is known as the most a country of democracy, equality, human rights, like solidarity, and still we have not gained fully our human rights. Still, they keep on stealing our areas. So there you have some huge consequences of colonization. And what we see today is the language is still not recovered. It's disappearing in many areas. The yoiking has a big revival, especially in the pop music. Reindeer herding is still alive. It's our traditional livelihood, but it depends on clean water and clean and undestroyed pieces of land, huge areas, and those we have less of less. So we're still living on small pieces of land, and the colonizing powers with mining industry mostly, they're coming closer and closer. So we face it every day, and now also the climate changes, which is a consequence of all these industrialization all around the world. It's affecting the climate itself, and in the Arctic where I live, it means that it rains during the winter, which is very abnormal, and rain in -degrees freezes to ice, and ice on the ground, on the food of the reindeer. They cannot dig for food, and reindeer is a free animal, so they starve to death out in the forest.
So what have you done to fight colonization?
I do music. I use the microphone to speak up. It's nothing rare, actually. It's something my family and people in my community have always done. We have always tried to resist this kind of colonizing, because it's my life. I fight for my people surviving, you know. So I do music, and like now I'm in China performing these songs, and it's not only for my people. This is something that is common all over the world. We all need. We think we don't depend on nature, but actually we do. We all need clean water, fresh air, and clean food to be able to live. But in an urbanized environment, it's hard to remember that. But we all need to remember that we are part of nature, whether we see it or not, whether we realize it or not. We have to take care of it. It's our only home.
About your songs, many people are much impressed about the sceneries of Europe, Northern Europe, but also the voice, the justice, because your voice has been regarded as a kind of voice of justice. So during this tour in China, what kind of message do you want to express through your music?
I want to express that everybody has the right to exist, no matter who you are, no matter what background you have, no matter who you love or what you believe in, where you come from, what ethnicity you have or nationality, or if you belong to a minority or are indigenous or not. You have every right to be here, and nobody is to tell you differently. I know we're in a country where this is controversial, but actually we have always been here. There have always been many different kinds of people on this planet, so that is the natural condition. Diversity, it's a beautiful thing. There wouldn't be colors unless we weren't different, right? So that is my message that goes out to all the world. That just keep your voice pure and speak up.
So, if there is an ideal world, so what kind of ideal world would you want?
I sing about my ideal world in a song called "This Is My Land." It's the first one on the Orada album, and it's a name in English name of the whole album, because "This Is My Land" has 5 verses, and each and every verse takes up my ideal world. In this world, in this world we all take each other's hands and paint the world in all these different colors. In this world we see no color. We see no color of our faces. We are just the same because we are. In this world we can be men, women, we can change, we can be something in between. We can love either men or women depending on who we are. In this world the mountains are left being sacred, beautiful goddesses, and not to be into iron, sold to big industries and stuff, but left alone as pure as they were from when they were created on this earth. In this world, everybody is seen, everybody is important, everybody has a voice, everybody has her or his very right to exist.
So, what kind of influence do you want from your songs to the world?
I want to show a worldview that is hidden. You mentioned before that we are the mysterious people, and that is censorship, that is the hidden culture, hidden people. And I want to open up people's eyes that we are still here. We have always been here and we are not leaving. And that is not just my people, but there are indigenous peoples all over the world, all over China also. There are people who people don't know about. And I just want to open up eyes to that. Things that you see, things that you hear, things that you read in the books. Just think about who wrote it, who wrote the history, and what kind of hidden agenda was there. Why is my people not mentioned in history books of my own country? Why is that? And I speak a lot about truth-telling. Indigenous communities, also in the US and all around the world, we speak about truth-telling. That is that every person has her right to tell her truth and not to be told by someone else who gains something out of it. But you have your truth and I have my truth, and the truth is most true if it comes directly from the person who has it.
So, can you tell us something about your childhood?
My childhood,
Yes.
I had a beautiful childhood.
So, about the environment
Mhm.
and also the radio herding.
Mhm.
Is it so? Because in our imagination, radio herding is really cool and romantic. Is
Mhm.
that so?
Well, it depends on. I grew up in a very fierce Sami family who were very. The identity has always been very strong. We had Sami language in my family. Both my parents speak it, and both my grandparents on both sides, and all the relatives. So Sami was like the main language in my childhood. I also had the luck to grow up in a city, a small town called Gällivare, which had both Sami kindergarten and Sami school until the 7th grade. So until 7th grade, all my classmates were also Sami. So I had that was the norm, that was a normal state, that everybody was Sami. And since we are reindeer owners in my family, in the extended family, we basically went up to the mountain area every summer and roadless land where the light is 24 hours because the sun doesn't go down during the summertime, it's midnight sun. And then we work up there with reindeer and fishing in the lakes and just like living in these lavos, these tents. And then in the winter time, the difference is freezing cold and you can't be outdoors too long because you freeze. and it's dark like 20 hours every day. And we also follow the reindeer, but have to adjust to the climate. So my childhood was, I was very close to the elders in my family, and I had, sometimes it's like being in two worlds, the Sami world, where everybody speaks Sami and lives close to nature, and the reindeer is the main thing. And then the other world, the urbanized world, where I also went to school, went to dancing classes or music classes, went to clubs or watching a lot of TVs and series and listening to pop music. So these two worlds are both my everyday life.
Are there any conflict between these two worlds?
Sometimes there is. I have had lots of thinking about this, and Oroda, the album, also means the tree line. I figure that life is like the landscape around a tree line, where the forest becomes mountain. There's a sharp line, and there are two completely different languages. Even though you have no trouble being in this landscape, both are there, and they are there side by side. They are our neighbors, and it doesn't have to be a conflict if you just realize that they are different and accept that, and there's no problem.
Are there any special memories or wonderful memories from your childhood?
Well, I think I had a beautiful childhood. I'm very lucky to grow up also in Sweden, where we are free. We are free to speak, even though our rights are not fully respected and recognized. I could speak Sami like openly in open air, and that is a beautiful thing. The most beautiful memories, I think, is when all the families gather up, like in the summertime, and we just cook food by the fire outdoors, and everybody's sitting on the ground, and we're waiting for the reindeer to calm down, or have just finished our hard night's work, because we work during the nighttime with the reindeer because it's cooler for them. Like those kind of moments when everybody's gather up, those are beautiful, because eventually the elders start to tell stories, and we younger, we listen to them and try to remember them, and we hear stories about before. And it's a beautiful kind of over generations sharing, and that is very precious to me. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit about the natural sceneries?
Oh, it's very beautiful up there, and I think I'm lucky to be able to travel around the world with my music, because it's when you travel around the world that you also realize what it looks like at home. And right now in November, December, the winter time, it's snow, pure white snow covered all over. The night is very dark. The last sunlight is now. Then it will go below the horizon. But then we have this, out there with the snow, it doesn't get too dark, and the sky has different colors. It has these northern lights sometimes, and the blanket of stars. And then there are forests covered with snow, and then we have these great mountain areas also covered with snow this time of year. And then everything changes. I mean, we have 8 seasons in my land, so it's very diverse. It goes from this pure winter to summertime with all the flowers and green and sunlight and warm and everything. So it's very great contrasts.
Which 8 seasons?
Well, we have like double up the 4 regular ones: winter, and then winter, spring, summer, fall, summer, fall, and then fall, winter. This is divided into smaller, like shorter seasons. So it makes more sense when you're up there, because spring to me is, you can still ski on the snow, but it's sunlight. Spring in the south of Sweden is flowers and stuff, but to me it's still snow in springtime. Summer, then you have flowers for like 2 months. Yeah.
So, know that your mother has told you there's a sentence, as long as reindeer live and water is fresh, we will live.
Yeah.
So in what kind of circumstances she said that?
Well, we see a threat against our culture every day, and even though it's hard to talk about it in China since things are different here, but even in Sweden it's hard to be a minority. But my mom usually says when it feels hard and difficult, as we have no voice and nobody listens, she's usually said, but they cannot eliminate us as long as we have reindeer, because reindeer is our protector. It is a reason why reindeer is our protector, and we are the reindeer's protector. The reindeer is an amazing animal because it lives and survives on the Arctic tundra where nothing else lives. It has a fantastic way of finding food under like 2 meters of snow where no other animal can do that. It has a fur that keeps it warm during -30, -40, -50 even. So this very strong animal is our protector, and therefore we need to protect it, because as long as the reindeer is able to live in this area, then human beings can live here. That is what she meant. So all we need to do is protect the reindeer and we will be safe, because the reindeer, with the livelihood, with the culture which is so attached to the reindeer also keep up the language, our Sami language. It keeps up the singing, the yoiking. It keeps up the handicraft, traditional handicraft, the traditional clothing. Everything like comes from the reindeer, so that is why we need to protect it. And also the water is fresh. I mean, when people cannot drink water anymore, then what?
So to some extent your mother is a protector of nature, right? So what kind of influences has she done to you?
My mom? Both my parents have a natural identity of just being. They haven't like pressured us or put any pressure on me or nor my brother to be in a certain way, but you know, kids do as their parents, and my parents, I mean, they took us always outdoors. They didn't change their way of life. I mean, when they went to the mountain during the summer, like every year of their lives, we just brought us with them. So we also got the knowledge about the surrounding areas. So we learned the different names of the places we need to go. And the most important thing is that when you are out in nature, don't ever leave any traces. Just take everything with you, and nature needs to stay the way it was before you got there, because people are coming after you. There are generations coming after you, and they need a place to live too.
Yes. Because we really like this sentence and we want to shoot this in our video.
Mhm.
So could you retell this sentence just your mom said that? Like,
Okay, as long
like,
as
my mom
yeah.
says.
Yeah, as my mom said, that as long as reindeer is living. No, what was it?
As long as reindeer live and water is fresh,
Yeah.
we will live.
My mom always says when I'm a bit sad and worried about.
Okay.
My mom always says when I'm a bit sad and worried about the future, she says, as long as reindeer will live and the water is fresh, we will live.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, about your songs, the most popular one is called Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of story is that in this song, or can you tell us some of the content of the
Mm-hmm.
song, because it's in song and all this?
Yeah. Lekas is a love song, and it's one of the few love songs I actually wrote. So I'm so glad that just this one got so big here, because I mean, love is the most beautiful thing, and considering how the world looks like, we need to share love, right? So this song is written, like, I think I was 18, 19 years old, and I wrote it in this time of year, like December. It was -30. I was back in the village where there are no sounds, and with the snow thick on the trees and everything, it's very compact. This silence. So the only sound is my own breath, and I just was there underneath this blanket of stars because it's so pitch dark there, so you can see the stars really clear and the northern lights. And what you need then is warmth. So Liekas means warm. So it's something like that you call for the one you love to tell him or her to keep you warm. That is basically it.
So most of about your songs, so what kind of inspirations? No, where does your inspiration come from for most of the time? Like how they come?
Well, it's different. Many times they appear to me during when I'm outdoors, when my eyes see these greatnesses like heaven and earth come together. Because in this vastness where I come from, you can really see the wide open spaces, and these elements. They make you really feel as a really small one. You can see how small the human beings are compared to. You can really see how small we are compared to the greatness of Earth. So that is a huge inspiration. It's a huge reminder of that everything is not around me. I'm just one small part of the universe. So that is something I really care about. Also, I'm very inspired by, these big issues like the right to exist, human rights like life and death, these kind of big matters that everybody thinks about, everybody needs to be able to survive as we are, as we were born, as we want to be. Those kind of matters are important to me, and I write a lot also when I get angry or frustrated about society or something. I need to tell the world stuff. Then I also write.
We know that when there is a video that you come to the stage at the age of 11.
Yeah.
So what did you think at that time? Did you just start to get into the world of music?
Yeah, basically. I started when I was young, and back then I went to Sami school, so we were many singing and yoiking. And me and my best friend Anna, we started when we were about 11, and we just joked and sang to everybody who wanted to listen. Parents, we kept concerts, we did concerts in school. So the step to the stage was not that huge, especially in these small kind of societies, communities. We had these dinner parties and stuff, and we just stepped onto the stage. But back then it was kind of cool that two little girls did this old style of singing. So it got it wasn't a hype. So TV got interest and papers and media, and we got tour already when we were teenagers, and recorded album or singles when we were in high school. So that was how it all began. And I didn't realize then that it was something ordinary or something extraordinary. I thought it was like everybody does this.
Why do you love music? Or just like, let me put it in this way. What is music like to you? Or what is music mean to you?
Music to me is a safe haven. I was really shy as a kid. I was super afraid of everything. But in music, in using my voice, I created a space of security, and I was safe there, and I knew this is my passion. This is my heart. This is my life, and I forgot all about being afraid. So I knew this was something I was good at. This is something I can do. So I forgot everything else and just went into keeping the voice, keeping up the voice.
Okay, one last thing is about your hometown.
Mm-hmm.
When we describe that, can you just retell this? Like, I was born in which village, and then we will continue to our description of the nature and your childhood stuff like that. So could you just start?
I do that again, or
Just a sentence
just as
like, I was born in which
Yeah.
village.
Yeah.
You need that word.
Okay. I was born. Where was I born? I come from, I can say.
Okay.
I come from a small village called Seidegava. It is in Luktamava Sami community, and this is where my home is. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all
Cool.
the questions.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Good questions. I
Yeah,
love your
love-
research.
Yeah, I love your song. It's
Really?
yeah, your voice.
Mhm.
The thing you just heard. It's amazing.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I hope you come to the show tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
shooting.
Yeah, you're
going on.
shooting,
Yeah,
yes, it's
we're
you're shooting.
shooting,
Yeah.
including your practice.
Yeah.
Text and voice.
And
You
if you
just
want some
record
like
everything.
a few comments or something before or after, that is fine.
Yeah.
Because now we've done the long. But if you want some question like after or right before, it's fine. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just so you know if you
Very
want
nice
something
of you. Thank
in
you.
action. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
See you tonight. Oh, this is yours. Thanks. There's so many cameras. Oh, it's okay. I have so long hair. It doesn't
Thank
matter
you.
if it's a bit short. Thanks. Did you manage? You're all good?
Yeah.
Can I see how it goes to my voice?
你这边出去跟这个出去跟一下，不关机是吧？